Hello and welcome to True Crime Diary, a light-hearted podcast on a serious subject. Every 2 weeks we look back through true crime stories to discuss an event that took place on this week in history. I'm your host Mark Decana, and with me as always are my friends Jed Lester.
Hello.
And Rue Turner.
Hello.
We've had an email from listener Ben.
Oh, welcome Ben.
And he asks...
Listen, Ben.
He asks from our Richmond murder episode.
Yes.
He asked, how can a coroner rule that the cause of death of a boiled skull was asphyxiation?
Good point. Is that what you suggested in the pod?
Well,
Can't remember.
There was a second inquest, and the
100 years later.
100 years when they found the heat.
David Attenborough. If anyone wants to do a... sorry. Tangent. If anyone wants to do a David Attenborough impression...
Oh, we'd love to hear it.
You just... No, I'm just giving you a word to do when you do.
Yeah.
Is you use the word Madagascar. You say, here in Madagascar. It always works.
Okay, fair enough.
What were you saying?
Good tip.
Someone suggesting that we gave out duff information.
That couldn't possibly be the case. Well, I've thoroughly researched on Wikipedia.
Yep.
And then filled in the gaps in the DNA like some sort of Richard Attenborough in a Jurassic Park might have done.
The other Attenborough.
The gaps with the other Attenborough.
I mean, it's a good point.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a fair point. The truth of the matter is that the cause of death would have been ruled from the whole evidence, not just the head on its own. The fact of the matter is that, even with the flesh boiled from the bones and everything, my understanding from watching episodes of Bones is that if you have a broken hyoid bone, that is evidence of asphyxiation by strangulation. And it's very rare to get a broken hyoid, and that's
presumably in your neck. So hang on, where was the neck?
In the box. Neck in a box.
In the box that was in the river?
Yeah, river box.
Okay.
Okay. So the head has got nothing to do with the ruling. The finding of the head 100 years later.
It had part of the ruling was that it had evidence on it of blunt force trauma.
Yes, you said that.
Which could have come from being struck or pushed down the stairs.
So it in itself is tied to the body by physical evidence.
Yeah.
And we know that the body was most likely asphyxiated.
Well, yes, and Webster confessed to that.
Right, okay.
So we know from the evidence of the body that it was asphyxiation, and from her confession, and we also, having found the head, know that it was struck. The story is that she was pushed down the stairs and then strangled. So the likelihood is that the blunt force trauma happened either from
while
the fall of the stairs or when she was hit at the top of the stairs.
Which could have been strangled at the top of the stairs and then collapsed down the stairs.
And she was mid-fall, and then she hit her.
And then she hit her with the back of an axe, like someone batting a baseball away.
Oh, dear.
Any of those things are possible, but let's just say she died.
Yes. In Madagascar. No, that was a good point.
Thanks for that.
So the date we're looking at this episode is the 18th of March, and in 1990, two men who were dressed as police officers went to the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, Massachusetts, and there they stole 13 works of art in what the Federal Bureau of Investigation called the world's largest art heist, valuing the haul at approximately $200 million at the time.
It's a fair old chunk of change, isn't it?
They've since revalued it at $500 million.
500 for insurance purposes.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
How do you... I mean, I suppose if you're dressed as a security guard, you can just go, yep, I just need to put this somewhere. How did they do it?
Well, they were...
Why did they do it? Was there any point?
Because of valuable art.
Worth.
Yeah, but is it... It's just valued as that. It's just a bit of thing on some paper.
Just a bit of slap in some paint. Yeah.
That someone
no one really likes art.
But I don't know. Do you? I haven't seen the paintings. They might be rubbish. Exactly. Exactly. That's like saying one of Rue's a painter. Everyone. And I don't mean of walls.
Of art.
If someone said to you, "That's worth £57 million," you'd go, "Is it?" It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It absolutely
is completely.
Oh yes, sir. Absolutely, sir.
Yes, it is.
It's really simple valuing. It's worth whatever someone will pay for it.
Sure.
And that's it. And it really is as simple as that.
A scenario where you write a number on a piece of paper and slide it across the page.
If it, has a...
if nobody wants it, it's worth nothing.
Sure, yeah.
However beautiful it might be.
Unfortunately for the world order, does anyone want your paintings?
Fortunately.
I don't know what was name some of or list some of the paintings that were stolen, and I'll tell you if they were worth it.
Okay, so probably the most famous one is
here we go.
The only seascape that Rembrandt ever painted, the Storm on the Sea of Galilee.
Rembrandt, all right, that's pricked my ear.
There was some paintings and drawings by Rembrandt, and also Degas, Manet.
Degas, Picasso, Rouault.
Okay, so it wasn't fly-by-night
no.
doodlers.
No.
It was full-on big boys.
There was a Vermeer,
right, okay.
And he's only got about 30 paintings.
Yeah, there's about 30 or 40 paintings altogether.
Vermeer? Johannes Vermeer, the famous...
So it's all Dutch masters, basically, and French.
Yeah, and then there were a couple of other bits as well. There was a Chinese goo.
Chinese goo?
Chinese goo.
We don't mean a little pot of ice cream. It's a
slimy
the piece
mixture.
is a little vase.
It's a little vase.
Oh right, so it's not all paintings.
It's not all painting. It's art.
It's not oil paintings.
It's like
ceramics.
So a little goo, little pot of goo, little pot of goo, a little goo pot, and a finial, an eagle from the top of like a flagpole.
Oh yeah.
An
What's it called technically?
A finial.
A finial. Right. Okay. Yep.
So that in the shape of an eagle. Now, but those two were relatively low value.
Okay.
So
took the vase, but not the stand that it was on.
Yes,
because the stand was firmly attached to the table that it was under. That was under it.
Well, also they took the eagle finial, but they tried to take a flag, and they couldn't take the flag, so they just took the top bit. The flag was valuable, so I think it was like Napoleonic.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
but the finial itself was not valuable, but they took that, presumably because that's all they could get.
Sure, yeah.
Flag wise.
But I seem to remember we estimated its value at $50,000 for the insurance company.
In and out job.
They were
in and out. How long were they in and out?
It was a little under an hour and a half.
Oh, that's quite long, isn't it? But if you dressed the part, you if we went outside and put some high vis on and put some cones out in the road, everyone would drive around it and go,
Just start smashing up the road.
I know, yeah, exactly.
I'd call it art.
And people would go, oh right, yeah, we better go round these. People just go, yep, that's fine. So they were wearing the right thing. I mean, if they'd been wearing a clown costume, then I don't think it would have worked.
Well, it wouldn't have been unlikely either, because it was St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, was
St.
it?
Patrick's
Right,
Night
okay.
Festival.
Yeah. Well, this is.
But that's the other side of Boston. Was most of the festival, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, St. Patrick's Day is quite a big deal, apparently, in Boston.
In Boston, it is. Yeah.
So this is March the 18th. I said, however, it was early in the morning, so everyone would still be out reveling.
Oh, okay, right.
Reveling into the night. So this was about 1 a.m. when they went in, and then
okay.
Came out.
So are we saying that when most of the police are perhaps concentrating on another area of the
crowd control
city? Yeah. I'm sure that happened in Die Hard, where they created a diversion and all the police went there, and then they went, quick, rob something.
Quick, rob something.
Only that was Christmas, and this is St. Patrick's
Day.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, Fabergé eggs at Easter, one assumes. Or, I can't think of any other holidays. Halloween pumpkins.
The protocol for security at the Gardner was pretty normal. Like, the door is never opened for anybody, policeman or not.
Sure.
Well, you say that.
That was the process. That was the process that was in place.
Yeah, except that on this occasion they opened it twice.
Yeah.
I think over a period of time the security got laxer and laxer. Yeah. In fact, so much so that common underworld understanding, or so I'm given to believe, was that it was a soft touch. They had basically had 2 security guards.
And one of them was permanently stoned.
One of them was known as being a bit of a hippie.
Okay.
Right. And basically, they had security systems in there. I mean, we'll get to it, but the security systems didn't tally with the story, so it's all a little bit confused about what happened. But it may well be that although everything was in working order, in inverted commas, it maybe just didn't work well enough.
Right. So there were 2 security guards who worked there, and 2 people dressed as security guards.
2 people dressed as police officers.
Oh, sorry. Well, I thought it was...
So what happened was, so it's about 1 a.m. on the morning of the 18th of March, and 2 police officers turn up, and they knock on the side door at the museum, and one of the security guards opens the door.
I'm sure that wasn't that meant to happen.
No.
Okay, right.
They open the door, and the policeman claimed that they've responded to a disturbance call.
May we come in?
Right,
so
okay, all right, fine.
Lets them in.
In you come.
Why, sure. Come right in. Make yourself at home. Thanks.
Within a few minutes, he and his co-worker are both bundled down into a basement, tied up, and then the 2 policemen, or whoever they are, go about their business and start cutting paintings out of the frame.
Just brutally knifing them.
That's terrible. I'd be like, just take them off the wall, unhook them from the wall.
And usually these things you can take the painting out with a couple of screws on the back. So why they were cutting them out when they had all that time?
Yeah. I don't want to bring back.
But if you cut them out of the frame, I suppose you can roll them up.
Put it in a tube. Stretcher. I don't want to bring back painful memories, Mark, but haven't you been?
I don't know where this is going.
But have you not? Quite a few years ago, experienced the same thing where
my art was stolen.
Yeah, where you stole some. Where if people think, how do people just get tied up? It basically happened to you, isn't it, where you worked.
Yes. Yeah. So
you don't have to tell us.
But, I was working in a shop.
He does because I've introduced it.
You can't tell the story. So, yeah, a long time ago, many years ago. So I was working in the shop and I was locking up for the night, and as I walked down from the offices...
It wasn't a gallery, by the way, everyone.
It wasn't a gallery, it was just a regular shop.
Yeah.
Like it was like a DIY store or a Target or something like...
Or a quiz.
In the Americas, they have Home Depot.
Yeah, it was like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
So it would have been a store like that, and I was coming down from the office and walking back down towards the front store where all the staff were waiting to go home, and I saw a very large man in a balaclava approaching me. Wow. I was like, this is interesting. And
he's cold.
And he took me down the front where he had an accomplice, also balaclaved.
But I mean, did he have
tied up.
A gun or a stick or a...
No, we don't really have that.
Did he just go, do this, and you just... People just did it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, he was much, much bigger than me.
Right, okay.
And I was going to wait and see if he had a shooter or a blade on it.
But he was... Yeah, all right, yeah.
And all the staff were tied up, so it was going to be basically me against 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And they were literally... Everyone else was tied up?
Everyone else was tied up. So they'd come in at the last second, surprise everyone, tied them up, and then basically, get out of the safe. So I was like, all right.
Open the safe?
Suggests insider information somehow.
Yeah. Well,
I know the routine.
Right, yeah.
Well, the opening hours were clearly publicised. But, so they got away with, about 500 quid in pound coins.
Well, that was it?
It wasn't a lot, yeah. A few couple of grand.
God.
So how long did this whole sort of thing take?
Were they dressed as policemen?
No. They, I suppose, it probably would have been about 15, 20 minutes from start to finish.
By the end of it, were you sort of
wailing,
side supporting them?
No.
Yeah.
I'm no paddy.
Had you joined them?
No, I was furious because...
And then you went on a rampage with them for the next year and a half.
I ran off with them and started robbing banks. No, it was...
it was brilliant.
I was... When I saw them... When I literally saw this guy with balaclava approaching me, my thoughts that went through my head, they flooded through, were, God, I'm going to be all bloody night now. CID.
This idiot.
And I was so annoyed because I was going to a strip club that night and I'd never been to one before. And I thought,
meaning you never went to one?
Which means I never went to one, yeah. That was the one chance I had.
I mean, I don't want to ruin it for you, but the women haven't got much clothes on.
That's very much.
That would have been great.
Spoiler alert.
Really? I didn't know that.
So you were like, oh god, that's my evening ruined.
Now I've got to talk to some CID officer all night.
Of course, right.
So,
and they got away with they didn't get away with any Rembrandts, is what my point is.
No, they didn't get much. They tried to take a bag of pound coins and they dropped it on the way up. So they didn't
waste of time.
Oh. So it couldn't have been inside information then, because they'd have known when the safe was full.
Yes, yeah.
They picked a Saturday night, so they picked the busiest day. But unfortunately, it was a business that was rapidly going out of business, so it wasn't a good pick.
I'll have some paint.
So they took 2 cans of paint and a brush.
I need some magnolia living room.
I want vinyl silk, not matte.
Right, well, sorry to...
Imagine that must have just been absolutely petrifying.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to bring that up, but...
No, genuinely,
for the purposes of a podcast.
Just inconvenienced.
This is a niggling inconvenience. It's going to take up a couple of hours of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I should have been afraid of it, but I don't know. Just I'm far more despondent than terrified.
You know how I like the sort of the inane detail of things, but what did they tie them up with? Gaffer tape or
like duct tape. Yeah,
duct tape. Okay.
Were people wailing? Well, in the sense of
no, they had duct tape on their faces.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's unkind.
Yeah, but I'm convinced that it's you just kind of you lick it off. I'm sure you could do that.
Take a while to lick it off. But
duct tape's known for being duct tape. Is known for not being.
It's supposed to be waterproof and non-peelable.
No, is it?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, sorry.
And it's available at a very good price.
Sorry to bring that up, but I feel it helps the podcast.
Yeah, I think the listener can definitely understand this.
One of us.
This is exactly what happened to our stoner security guard.
Yes, exactly.
What are you trying to say?
He was...
I wasn't stoned.
He was taped around the head, wasn't
he? Was he?
Taped around the head.
Yeah.
Oh, my ears. I told you to tape up his mouth. Right, okay, so, but in that case, there were only 2 chaps who were tied up, and then once that had happened, they basically vaguely took their time, it sounds, an hour and a half's worth of mincing
You're not
around.
expecting any visitors in the museum?
Yes, of course. Yeah,
dressed as policemen.
Yeah, you are in authority, basically, aren't you?
You've incapacitated the only 2 security guards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can probably take your time.
See, Johnny, you got to go again too.
So the security guards, the young fellas, got Ricky Abath, age 23, and Randy Heston, 25.
Yep.
It's Heston's first night.
Randy, you knew?
Ricky and Randy.
Yeah, he was covering for the old boy who normally does it. But
hang on.
Yeah. So he was the finger of suspicion
something
pointed at him.
Smells.
And Abath was the one who was a bit of a hippie.
Yeah.
And the finger of suspicion pointed at him.
I'll tell you what he needs.
He was in a band.
Not least because of his bohemian lifestyle, but also because during his patrol, he went to the very same side door, opened it, and then closed it again for no apparent reason.
About a quarter of an
Meaning
hour
what?
Letting
them in?
No, he just went. He opened the door, closed the door for no reason, and no one could understand.
He did claim that was part of his routine, as he would check out the front door,
just to be on the lookout.
However, when the police looked at, well, I don't know if it's the police actually, but when investigators looked at the tapes, and the sensors for the previous few weeks, that never happened.
That didn't happen.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
So that was
interesting.
So if it's part of his routine, then it's a part of a routine that he'd only just begun.
Only just decided.
Began that routine that day. The same as when this new fella began his.
I do this every day from today.
Starting now.
Right, okay, so that raised... Is this the hippie-ish chap?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that raised... Did it raise suspicion, or...?
Yes, they were both...
Right, okay.
Suspected for some time.
Okay.
So the thieves, they wrapped duct tape around their heads and eye areas.
Their eyes. Their eye areas. Commonly known as their eyes.
Their wallets for their ID and said, like, we know where you live.
Oh, God, that's horrible, isn't it? I hate that.
But they also promised them they would get a reward in a year's time. They said nothing.
And your reward shall be 1,000,000 golden pezuzas.
That's something. When your colleague were all tied up, did they get them to empty all of their personal belongings into a bin liner and steal them as well?
No.
Because they'd probably have had more than 500 quid in goodies just from the staff.
Probably not. Probably
goodies.
No. They all worked in a DIY store, so they didn't probably have any money.
Oh, we're back to yours now.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay.
B,
no,
they wouldn't have had any cash on them because they had to keep the cash in the wallets.
They would have had some car keys on them. They wouldn't have been
allowed to have their phones on them, and if they did, they would have all been like Nokia 3310s. It wouldn't have been...
These are rubbish. We need to wait 25 years till the iPhone 13. They would have had lots of car keys, though, wouldn't they?
They might have had debit cards, maybe.
No.
What do you mean, no?
They wouldn't have cars. They didn't. None
Couldn't
of them
afford cars.
Can't afford cars. They all got the bus.
What, really?
Yeah.
Bus pass? Give me your bus pass.
I want your Oyster card.
Oh, right. So it was badly thought out.
They went to the wrong place. It was the only place that was open.
Robbing a bankrupt shop, working
with
poor staff
people
who were on minimum wage.
Who all got the bus to work.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
They should have given us money. Should have broken in and
in fact, if they'd done that,
expensive thing in the room.
If they'd done that, they probably would have got away with it. Right? Okay, calm down. Right, I'm sorry to have tied you up. Here's 100 quid each or whatever. Everyone would have gone, brilliant.
Yeah.
We'll help you carry stuff out to your car.
Yeah, exactly.
Open the boot. We'll just form a chain gang.
Yeah.
Well, that's all insured, isn't it?
That's what I would have done if I was the robber.
Really? You'd rob a place and give the victims money?
Well, you just kind of... Because it kind of covers... It doesn't cover your tracks, but it just makes you...
That's not robbing. That's
lovable.
Robin Hood.
Makes you lovable.
Lovable? So let me go tell you a little bit about the origin of the museum, if I may.
Oh, yeah.
What's it called again?
It's called the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum.
And that's one person?
That's one person. That's not Isabella and Stewart Gardner.
Oh, okay.
Isabella Stewart Gardner. Now, she is a 19th century, early 20th century art collector and philanthropist.
Okay. So she collected them?
She collected them. She literally collected them. So she
when they weren't worth much, presumably.
Yeah, so she would have been... She was born about 1840. She and her husband, Jack, they toured in the late 19th century, 1870s, 1880s. They toured around Europe and Middle East and Asia collecting art. And basically they found out that they realised that their house was too small. So they commissioned and had this built, this museum. And it was, it was basically a whole building just to hold their art collection. All private collection.
Blimey.
It was the first,
that's what you need.
Yeah.
It was the first
building. He's got loads of in his shed.
It was the first building in America to have...
I've just built an annex.
Well, that's true, yeah. You technically just built a museum.
You built the Rue Turner Museum.
Rue Turner Garden Museum.
Garden Museum.
He's in his garden, everyone.
So this building was modelled on buildings in Venice and what have you, and it had in the centre there was a glass covered courtyard, which is the first of its kind in America.
It's reasonably uninteresting from the outside.
It's a good review.
But for the inside,
on the whole, I found it reasonably
extraordinary.
So these wealthy white folk from wealthy white Boston, said, "Let's get some art. What fun!" And then decided to deck out this new building, and it opened in 1903. Complete with champagne and donuts and the Boston Symphony Orchestra. So it was a gala day.
Well, a gala day is enough for me. I don't think I can handle anymore.
Isabella was very paranoid about people seeing, the insides of it before the opening.
Right.
So she was friends with people at the what was it again, Mark?
The Boston Symphony Orchestra.
The Symphony Orchestra.
Wow.
She was also she was friends with the local blind school. So she got all the blind children to come in and listen to the symphony orchestra play.
Yeah. Very good.
To experience it, because they couldn't tell anyone what it looked like inside.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
She was very, very secretive about
prior to it opening.
Yeah.
One's museum.
And we're talking about the thing that got... The very building that got burgled.
Yeah.
Okay.
As in this amazing open courtyard in the middle.
Right.
She was quite an interesting person. She was, as well as being a philanthropist, she was quite an eccentric. She is quite famous for her having visited. In 1912, she went to see the Boston Symphony Orchestra perform, and she went there wearing a Red Sox headband.
Really?
Excellent. Excellent. So it was a little bit eccentric. Apparently, that's her. I'm quoting now. She almost caused a panic.
How?
Wearing a Red Sox headband.
Wearing a Red Sox headband in 1912.
Is that bad?
A upper society lady.
Right. Okay.
It's quite the eccentricity that you know.
Right. I wonder if have you been to Fenway Park?
No, sir.
I have. It's excellent.
Is that the home of the Red Sox?
Yeah, it's really good. It's like going to someone's
What's the name of that
old house.
It's like famous, isn't it?
The scoreboard?
Yeah, it's got a name of its own.
Has it?
I watched that movie about... Like, it's not about the Red Sox, but it ends with the Red Sox. About the introduction of data analysis into...
I'm already bored.
Baseball. That's really good.
Introduction of data analysis into baseball.
I can't remember who it is. There's some really famous actor who plays the lead in it.
In what?
What's that movie about baseball analytics?
Moneyball.
That's it, Moneyball. Yeah.
Brad Pitt's
really
in it.
Good.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's one of my faves. I watch it.
It's really good.
I probably watch it once every 6 months or so. It's really good. Yeah.
My favourite baseball movie is Major League, about the
Charlie Sheen.
About the Cleveland Indians with Charlie Sheen.
The good thing about
build it and they will come.
I know. I was going to say
that's Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
Why are you talking about Moneyball? It's about the Oakland. No, it's Oakland A's.
What is Moneyball?
Yes, but he
gets offered a job.
He gets offered a job. Yeah, he turns it down.
25 million.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm glad we got onto that.
It's brilliant. I could watch it. In fact, turn it off. I want to watch it. Turn off the recording.
I have seen the Oakland A's play.
We'll take a short break while Jed watches Moneyball.
Yeah.
I saw the A's play against what would at the time would have been the California Angels, but I think they're Anaheim Angels.
The A Derby. Anyway, what's Fenway's scoreboard called?
Fenway scoreboard is called the Green Monster.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. So she was obviously a fan, but I wonder if it's very near to her gallery place.
Whereas they were both in Boston.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So
great. Great.
So while the thieves were stealing the art, they were mostly in the Dutch master's room. There was infrared motion detectors, but they didn't record any motion in the Dutch room until about 10 to 2 a.m. So that would have been about 15 minutes in, having tied up the guys and everything. They didn't pick up any motion. And in one of the rooms, they only picked up the security guard, Abath, his motion. They didn't pick up, even though art was taken from that room, his was the only motion that was picked up. The two times he went past on his patrol.
Oh, sorry, right, okay. Is that fishy, or can they be turned off, or were they turned off?
They weren't turned off, and later they were supposedly working fine. These had been installed in the early 80s, so they weren't that old. This is 1990, this robbery.
Yep.
So that was a bit interesting, because there was art taken from the blue room, from that room. But no motion detected.
That was the small money, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's the only piece, and it is quite small.
It's quite small.
You can tuck that in.
Still a money,
but it's still got to get across the room and out. So that was quite interesting. Another reason why a finger was pointed at Abath.
Oh yeah.
The thieves went to check on the guards. They asked them if they were comfortable and everything before they left, and then they went out in 2 drops to load the art into their getaway vehicle.
It's not typical gangster behaviour, is it?
No. Really? Did they know what...
You're right, it's not too tight, is it?
Hi, fellas. How you doing? Hey, what's happening?
Can I just check you're okay?
Do you want a cushion?
Have you seen the Red Sox score? Do you think they specifically targeted certain paintings? Or was it just...
I reckon they went in with a shopping list.
I would say so.
Yeah.
They didn't take the most expensive art. They did take specific art,
quite
mostly
big?
From the one room. And they tried to get the Napoleonic flag, like I said.
Yes.
But it looks like they gave up because it was all screwed. It was in a case that was screwed to the wall. It looks like they undid some of the screws, left some, and then just took the finial off the top.
Right.
So It looks like they...
Usually stuff like that, and not that I know anything, but it's usually stolen to order kind of thing, isn't it? It's not just...
And professional thieves...
Do you reckon... should we have that one? No.
They're really good at stealing.
They've got a list.
That type of place.
I would say you want to have a buyer beforehand, and the buyer's not going to buy whatever you show them. They're going to say, I want this.
That said, if you had a buyer beforehand, would you Stanley knife them out the frames? You absolutely wouldn't, would you?
Yeah.
You'd want the whole lot.
No, you would, because you need to get it out.
Well, I know that, but it will diminish its... it will diminish its value, even though it's all nicked.
But when you reframe it, you just make the frame a little bit smaller and you just... and the edge...
Yeah.
There was a painting...
It's fine.
I'm reminded... I wish I could remember this. You might remember this, being an art person. I'm reminded there's a painting, one of these massive sort of wall... Not a fresco, it wasn't on the wall, but it was a painting. It was mounted on the wall. And it was ages before they suddenly realised that they took the frame down and they realised it had been folded like in half.
Yeah. Oh, really?
It was twice the size.
Oh, wow. That's great.
I've actually seen that in an exhibition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and there's not only is it folded, but there's a big chunk of it missing out of the corner where...
Hence why it was folded.
Portrait of someone in it, and they cut that portrait out and framed it
Framed
separately.
Right, okay. And then folded it over.
And then folded that bit around the back.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That was in a museum.
Yeah.
So if they're not that bothered...
Sure, yeah.
You know.
Oh, I see what you mean. But they obviously folded it over, or somebody folded it over because there was a big hole cut out of it.
Potentially, yeah.
But the point being, there is a level of respect for art, and then there is a whole other level of respect, which is like, well, I'd rather have the picture and make it smaller than not. So next morning, or later that day in the morning, what happened was that the other guards turned up to take over the
morning shift.
No one was responding to the buzzer to come to the door, so they called the supervisor. The supervisor came down with the keys to get them in. And then they found, no one was on the watch. They
tied up.
And then they called the police. Police turned up and they found the guards in the basement. And then they knew the crime had been committed.
Sure, yeah.
So 13 works of art stolen. And I said it was considered at the time the highest value museum robbery.
Oh, yeah. You had it all up.
Yeah. In 2019, so almost 20 years later, there was a robbery at the Dresden Green Vault. Which was estimated at value of €1 billion.
Wow.
Which was the next one.
What was nicked?
Art.
Just art, right. Just some art.
Yeah. Big bag of art.
Oh, yeah. Big, massive crate of art.
It was an art exhibit that was comprised of €1 billion in a pile.
Yeah. It was the Justified Ancients of Mumu starting early.
Yeah. It's weird that you mentioned it because someone was talking about them at length yesterday.
Really? Or KLF?
Because KLF. They famously
that was $1 million, wasn't it?
Yeah. Claimed to have burned $1 million.
Yeah.
Probably didn't. I'm not saying the KLF are liars. Well, I am.
It is a video. You can watch it. We could probably get it on YouTube, I should think, the video of them burning the $1 million.
So that has usurped the 1990 haul monetarily value, monetarily wise, yeah.
So there is a reward was put out.
Yep.
Unfortunately, at the time, the museum didn't have a lot of money, so they
rang round, didn't they?
They basically rang round, yeah. So they got Sotheby's and Christie's, the auctioneers, to help, and they posted in 3 days of the robbery. They posted a reward for $1 million.
Wow!
To recover the art.
That's a lot, isn't it? Yeah. They could have done 100,000. Everyone would have gone, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, thanks very much for offering.
Yeah.
I mean, considering they had millions and millions and pounds worth of art, they didn't have any money.
They didn't have any money.
Right.
But I think the Isabella Stewart Gardner had some stipulations in her will about the collection.
Yes.
So if it was ever changed or broken up, then it would all be sold and all the money would be given to MIT, is it?
Yes.
Really? It was given to MIT.
Nothing was to be bought or sold. You couldn't add to it or take away from the collection.
It can't be split up.
Can't be split up.
Right.
So
why would you do that?
Sell it
because it's a collection
in order to raise money.
Yeah.
What's MIT got to do with anything?
Was it? I think it was MIT, wasn't it?
Seems a bit weird. I mean, it's the right part of the world, but did they have... What year are we talking about? Did they have technology?
It's technology and it's...
Yeah, so they couldn't... I mean, you can't exactly mortgage any of them, I suppose, either. But...
Yeah. What, like in Monopoly?
Yeah.
Turn it over. Accept a slightly lesser fee. You could have done that. You could have turned it over, faced the wall.
Well, they still, like, in the Gardner Museum now, they still all have the frames in place.
Yes.
Where the paintings were.
I was going to say, the frames are there.
Boy, them gold frames sure cost plenty of dough.
Literally holding...
Right, so hang on. Are you, if you've mildly jumped the gun, are you saying they never got them back?
They have still not been returned.
I didn't know that.
In 1997, the reward went up to $5 million. In 2017, it went to $10 million.
Wow.
And
we should start looking for it.
They said $10 million if they're recovered by the end of the year, but then the public got behind and started adding to the fund, so they kept it going. So so there is a $10 million bounty.
So as to date, that's it. They nicked them, and that's the end of that.
They've still not been recovered to this day.
Oh, blimey! I didn't know that.
$10 million reward out.
Honestly, I had no clue that was the end of the. Well, it might not be the end, but the current status is.
Well, what's interesting is if they have not managed to unload the paintings, they could just return them because the statute of limitations has expired. They can't be prosecuted for the theft.
Wow!
God,
good
I didn't know that.
Wow.
There has been one or two occasions.
What's it? 25 years?
Come close to that.
No, it was only 5 years for theft.
5?
It's nothing.
Blimey.
Nothing.
You could have.
Here they are.
Got away with the Mona Lisa.
Well,
yeah, nearly.
Well, I don't know what the statute of limitations is in France.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. In those days.
In Boston in 1990, it was 5 years. So anyone who was involved in it, who bought it or whatever, they can't be prosecuted.
Wow.
So give it back, eh?
Yeah.
That told them.
Because it's fine. So what's in position? Just empty frames?
The empty frames, yeah.
I mean, that's quite good, isn't it? To remind everyone that, by the way, they were still on the lookout. But
And for a collection that you can't add or remove from,
yes,
it's slightly awkward, I would have thought. I would definitely go. When I'm next in Boston, I will definitely go there.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you mean when you're next in Boston?
I'll say next.
I was going to say, when are you going there?
When I'm in Boston.
When I give back the paintings.
Some people have been suspected.
Oh, yeah.
A whole raft.
Boston, naughty Boston people.
As always in these cases, they start digging up any other name they can think of.
Yes, yeah.
So the first proper clue really was in 1994 when the director of the museum got a letter from someone who claimed that they had the art and they wanted to negotiate to return it. This is a year before the statute of limitations.
Yes, yeah.
They said they wanted to steal the art and they were going to return it in order to reduce a prison sentence. So this gangster Bobby Donati apparently was trying to negotiate a prison release in exchange for the return of the art.
Ah, Bobby Donati.
Now he
oh yeah, Bobby Donati, Robert of the Nut.
So the FBI were basically focused their investigation on the Boston Mafia.
Yep.
Because there was a gang war kind of going on at the time. But he was murdered a year after the robbery. So Donati was trying to negotiate for his boss, basically Vincent Ferreira, who was in prison at the time. Now Ferreira claimed that Donati said he was going to do something to get him out of jail, and that was a few months before the artwork was stolen. But then he said that he had buried the art, but of course then Donati then got killed a year later. So
yes.
If this letter was saying basically that they had the art to negotiate prison release, it might have been related to that, and they now wanted to negotiate it to be sold back to the museum because it was no good to them anymore.
Well, Bobby Donati was in possession around, I think it was slightly later, of 2 Boston police officer uniforms in a brown paper bag.
Right.
Which is something I suppose you'd expect a gangster to have, maybe.
Big bag.
Maybe he was in the...
in order to lead
Chicago
people into a car park or a garage and shoot them.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's a member of the Chicago outfit. He kept them as a memento.
But it's a bit suspicious, isn't it, really, in the context of things?
That's the thing about baddies. They're quite suspicious.
Suspicious. They might... You never know, they might have stolen police uniforms kicking around here or there. One person apparently was thought to be in possession of the Storm of the Sea of Galilee, which I mentioned.
Because he showed it to someone in a warehouse in the dark.
Yeah, exactly. There's an antiques dealer called William Youngworth, and there's a journalist who was talking with him in 1997 about the theft, and apparently Youngworth showed him what Mashberg thought was this painting. But maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, we're not really sure. But the FBI raided the place and didn't find anything.
There ain't nothing here, Lieutenant!
But it could have gone by then, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Whitey Bulger, he was a crime boss.
Yes, heard of him.
Winter Hill Gang.
The what? Hill Gang?
The Sugar Hill Gang.
Sugar Hill
Winter Hill Gang.
What?
His gang's called the Winter Hill Gang.
Why did I say sugar?
The Grange Hill Gang.
It's a band. Yeah, of course. Sorry, I'm tired.
The Grange Hill Gang.
The Sugar Hill Gang. That's libelous.
Now, he obviously he fell under suspicion being a gangster. But
yes,
he said
because he was naughty.
He said he didn't organise it, but he had sent out some of his henchmen, to find out who did the robbery, because it was his turf and he deserved a piece.
Right. No one nicks stuff on my manor.
Got to give him tribute, innit?
Right,
or
okay.
one piece.
Okay.
Again, there's no real proof that he had any involvement with it. There was a guy from Boston called Brian McDevitt. He was a con man. He dressed up as a Federal Express driver, and apparently he basically tried to steal a Rembrandt in New York. So he was interviewed, but his fingerprints weren't at the crime scene, and they couldn't find it. It was just a guy at the same time who tried to steal.
Sure, yeah.
But he was ruled out as well.
So why I ask this question most pods? Why are we ultimately talking about it? Is because it's was the highest value nicked bag of art.
The highest bag of art. Yeah, because it was a massive deal.
Because ultimately, to paraphrase the story, two blokes went into a museum. Two blokes went into a museum, nicked a load of art and left, and that's the story, isn't it? Basically, kind of.
Well, yeah. I mean, in fairness, it has become quite as recent things go. This is only 1990.
Has it become legend?
It's got quite a famous. There's been references to it in popular culture.
Oh yeah.
So
sorry to interject. Did the Dresden robbery? Was the art recovered from that?
No, the Dresden
also
robbery.
Right. Okay.
Also, but that's only from November 2019.
That's true.
And they've interviewed a lot of people, and it's comparatively recent. It has not yet been
just
recovered.
Before lockdown.
Whereas the Gardner Museum theft has been mentioned on TV shows such as The Blacklist, Shameless, and The Simpsons.
It's been mentioned in a little
passing
snippet
reference.
on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Right, so it has enough legend.
Yeah, and in the last 2 years,
notoriety.
Each year of the last 2 years has had a documentary about it released. So BBC 4 did a documentary about the search for the missing art called The $1 Billion Art Hunt.
Right.
Which is incorrect, because it should be the $500 million art hunt. Because the $1 billion art hunt is the Dresden.
Yes.
And in April of 21, Netflix did a 4-part series called This Is a Robbery, the world's biggest art heist.
That I can highly recommend.
Really? Is it good?
Yeah, it's
4
really good.
parts?
Yeah.
Seems a bit
They're 4
much.
1 hour parts.
Oh, God, really?
Lorks.
We've knocked through it in 45 minutes.
Do you know why the Netflix documentary is
Because they're
called This Is a
Tarantino
Robbery?
fans?
No, because that's what they said when they went to the building.
This is a robbery.
This is a robbery.
Yeah. Loads of people say that, don't they?
Yeah, usually when it's a robbery.
Yeah. You state what you want before you do
This
it.
is a restoration.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone's run in and gone, this is a heist.
In 2013, the FBI claimed that it had identified who the two thieves were.
Yeah, they had a rather awkward press conference for that, didn't they?
Yeah, what they had a high degree of confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So they were still working on it then?
Yep. In
Wow.
2015, they revealed their names.
Oh, yeah. And they were...
George Reisfelder and Leonard DiMuzio.
Right.
Who were both associates of Carmela Molina, who was another gang
Is that
boss.
a mobster?
Apparently, they both look like the police sketches that were released.
Right.
Of what they look like. But they also
That's kind of working backwards, though, isn't
yeah,
it? Yeah.
They also both died a year after the heist.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
So even though they claimed to know who it was, there was never going to be any prosecution.
It's odd how quite a lot of people related to the heist died in the ensuing years. I mean, not in a kind of
one a day,
statistically
mysteriously,
kind of way, a kind of oddly unlikely kind of pattern of death.
Yeah. How did he die? He died in an oddly unlikely pattern of death.
And one of the guys that the FBI ID'd as one of the potential policemen died of huge coke ingestion.
Right. Meaning not
really
an overdose or something.
User.
Right. Can you overdose?
It's a bit of a. What have you tried?
Suspicious. Yeah.
It's a bit of a sort of. I don't know.
Really? Did he?
A KGB kill.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
Teetotaler dies of alcohol poisoning.
Well, as the search for the art continues, the director of the Netflix series, name of Colin Barnacle.
Yep.
I didn't see that coming.
He made a statement to Boston or Boston.com, stating that if the docu-series doesn't help, then they're gone, because the show is the biggest wanted poster in the world.
Yeah, they usually are. In recent years, any form of Amazon or Netflix or whatever documentary has reignited cases, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's not all without hope, because the paintings, although they are actually gone, they are technically not gone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey?
Hey, what the? Because in 2018, through the magic of augmented reality, you can now visit the Isabella Stewart Gardner Art Museum.
Like a VR thing.
Yeah, hold up your tablet/phone to the empty frame and the art will appear.
Oh, that's clever.
Which is
That's quite good, isn't it? I mean, you may as well get rid of all art and then just have that.
I'm in favour of destroy all art.
To be fair, that's all you ever see when you walk around a gallery these days.
That's what most people do.
Experiencing it through
their phone.
So
why have you come here at all?
So, like when you hold up, what's it called? Google Camera or something to find out information on something.
Yeah.
And it, right. Okay.
It augments it.
Wow. Yeah. So when you hold it up, you can see the pictures in the frames.
You can see the pictures in the frames.
Oh, that's quite good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just call the search off.
It's an app called Hacking the Heist. Which is a nice name.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So you can still go to the museum. You can still see the art, albeit through your phone. But as you rightly say,
there you go. You claim you're going to go to I guarantee you're not.
Yeah.
But you claim you're going to go to the museum, and you can see the art.
What's the point?
Well,
I can see pictures of them from here.
Yeah, that's true. You can just see a picture.
I don't need to go all the way there to see them online.
Yeah, just look a bit on the internet. Yeah. It's fine.
Oh, that saved a faff.
But you won't get the experience.
All the way there.
You won't get to see the gorgeous architecture of the Isabella Gardner Museum itself.
Okay. America's first glass encased courtyard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, fine. Go then.
That's all for this time. If you want to know more about what we've talked about on this episode, then just Google it or something. You can listen to all of our previous episodes on our website. That's www.truecrimediary.co.uk. Please remember to leave a review on your podcast provider if you can, or you can email us. That's stuff@truecrimediary.co.uk. My thanks to Jed and Roo and to all of you for listening, and we'll see you again on the next date in our True Crime Diary.